Now, here's an interesting question. Isn't there a law making dash cams illegal in Germany? That's certainly what people have been saying, but is it true? Or can I make videos like this? Well, before I answer that question, I have something very important to say.
I am not a lawyer.
Which means that none of this is legal advice, just my opinion based on what I've been able to find out. So please, if you need a real answer, ask a legal expert. So what happened was a driver was taken to court for using a dash cam. Basically, he'd been driving around with his dash cam switched on, and anytime he saw anybody breaking the law, he would report them to the police. The authorities wanted him to stop. Why? Because the court felt that it basically amounted to vigilantism. Also, there was an issue with privacy. German privacy laws mean that normally you can't just film people without their knowledge. The court didn't ban dash cams, but declared them to be surveillance cameras. And in Germany, there are very strict regulations about surveillance cameras. First, it's okay to have your camera pointing at your own private property, but not at public spaces. You can film people walking into your garden, but you can't film people walking past. Sometimes it is unavoidable, but then you must take steps to minimize the risk of accidentally filming somebody you shouldn't be filming. The thing about dashcams is that pretty much everything they film is public road. Not only that, but the view is changing all the time, and so the risk of filming innocent people is dramatically increased. In fact, it's inevitable. Second, it's not okay to film people without their knowledge. If you have surveillance cameras and they're not clearly visible, this may mean putting up a sign like this. Then people can make an informed choice whether or not they actually want to enter your property and be filmed. If you have a dash cam, nobody you film has that choice. In fact, nobody has any way of knowing whether or not they're even being filmed. But that doesn't mean that dash cams are illegal. In a more recent case, a driver was allowed to submit as evidence footage taken with his dash cam. In that case though, he normally had his dash cam switched off. Only when another driver started tailgating him did he switch it on. The other driver started driving so dangerously that he almost caused an accident. The court in this case ruled that using a dash cam in this manner is perfectly reasonable. You're not allowed to play traffic cop, but you are allowed to take action against a driver who is putting you at risk. If you're continuously filming on the off chance that you might catch somebody failing to come to a complete stop at a stop sign, everybody else's right to privacy overrides that. But if you are in serious and immediate danger and at that point start filming, that trumps even privacy law. Dash cams are not illegal, it's a question of why you're using one. But that doesn't answer the question about this. Is this legal? Well, I've just shown it to you, so I hope it is legal. Unfortunately, nobody knows for sure. After the first case, there were a lot of different opinions on the matter, but the consensus of many experts was that if you wanted to upload it to the internet, you could if you first made sure that you obscured the identity of anybody who appeared in the video and also any car registration numbers. On the other hand, there's no vigilantism here, which is what the courts were interested in. There's no attempt to catch somebody out in an illegal act. To make things more complicated, when I make these videos, I don't use a dash cam, I use a camcorder, which is not a surveillance camera, but could be used as one. It's perfectly okay for me to stand outside and film a street scene as cars and people just happen to go past. Does the same apply if I just happen to be sitting in a car at the time? Who knows? Until somebody is taken to court over this, the situation remains unclear. Remember, you can always send me a postcard at this address. You can also find me elsewhere on the web. Visit Rewboss.com to find out how. And I do it because I care for you.